other things I want to ask you about. Shall I get to those?
Why not?
Archbishop of Canterbury talked a lot about him yesterday. Justin Welby, he did yesterday afternoon resign. I think many of us were saying, you know, was it weeks, days, or was it hours? Quite a few of our guests, reverends who'd actually signed that petition and organised that petition against him yesterday, saying they thought it would be by the end of the day, and it was. A raft of angry criticism about his role in totally failing to act on allegations of child abuse by a Christian summer camp leader and Casey John Smythe. Also going to talk about the NHS, as we often do, because hospital chiefs are going to face the sack and not getting pay rises if they fail to cut NHS waiting times. This is Health Secretary Wes Streeting announces zero tolerance for failure. Why did no one think of this before? Asking people to do the jobs they're paid to do. Mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing. It's almost like the NHS might be getting into the programme. Also going to be talking about Donald Trump, and I particularly want to, both of those topics, the NHS and Donald Trump, are things I'd particularly like to hear from you today, because the US President-elect Donald Trump has confirmed that, yes, Elon Musk is going to co-lead a new Department of Government Efficiency. It's alongside Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Also, we know that a Fox News anchor, Pete Hogsworth, is going to be running the Defence Department, and everyone's decrying that. But actually, he's got quite good credentials for the job. We'll talk about that. Plus, Keir Starmer has been at COP29. He's back today for PMQs, but he has pledged to cut carbon emissions by at least 81% by 2035. That's based on where we were, I think, in the 1980s. He insists Britain can do it without anyone having to change how they live their lives. I'm going to tell you right now, that is a blatant and open and clear lie, because one of the key things about hitting the net zero targets, that the Climate Change Committee, supposedly independent, not remotely independent body that advises the government on how to hit net zero, are very, very, very clear that actually a huge amount of what is needed to be done for us to hit these insane, impoverishing targets is for us to not be able to live the lives we want to lead, to go on foreign holidays, to use our cars, to eat meat, to basically put the heating on. You know, those luxury things that we enjoy doing in the 21st century. So we're going to talk about all of that. Benedict Spence is going to stay joining with us for all of that as well. Also, a little bit later today, just to let you know, give you a heads up, the suspect in the Southport stabbings is going to be in court at roughly 2 o'clock. So during Ian Collins' show, this is Axel Ruda-Cubana, aged 18, of course, from Banks in Lancashire. He's due to appear at Liverpool Crown Court by video link at 2 o'clock today for a plea and trial preparation hearing. He faces 3 charges of murder, also 10 charges of attempted murder, 1 charge of possession of a knife, and those are all related, obviously, to that attack in Southport on the 29th of July. He's also been additionally charged in the last month with production of a biological toxin, i.e. ricin, but also possessing a file entitled Military Studies in the Jihad Against the Tyrants, the Al-Qaeda Training Manual. So he will be facing the plea and trial preparation hearing. We understand the families of some of the victims in that case are going to be attending the court today. So we'll keep you posted on developments there. Benedict Spence, on lighter issues than a forthcoming murder trial. Archbishop of Canterbury resigning. Justin Welby has gone. Everyone says now he's done the right thing, apart from, of course, Rory Stewart, who's wrong about everything, who says he was a good man who quite happily didn't do anything to try and bring a violent, sadistic paedophile to justice. So not that good a man.
No, there's quite a few people who are going down that line online on Twitter, saying he's a good man who's done the right thing and X, Y, Z, and you kind of think, well, you know, it taken in the round, actually, holding on to this information, not revealing it, and sort of sitting on it whilst you were Archbishop for all these years does not necessarily sound like a particularly good thing.
Yeah, but migrants.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but migrants.
And
I think that's what you have to say at this point.
And fascism, and you know, inclusion,
nasty Tories,
all that sort of thing.
But he's a good man. He just wasn't that bothered about children being beaten sadistically by a paedophile. That didn't bother him so much.
I mean, he's at a slight disadvantage in that he seems to be the one sort of leading cleric in any religion who actually has to face some form of accountability. Well, if he'd picked another religion, he'd probably have been fine.
Well, he'd been fine. If he was the Pope, he'd be absolutely fine.
He could have just turned around and gone, well, God hasn't told me to resign, so what are you going to do? Sadly, he does have to answer to people. Of course,
you know, he's the head of the leading cleric in the Church of England. The King is the head of the Church Church of England, but it may lose his position in the House of Lords. I would certainly expect him to do so, and he has it because of his position.
Well, if Gavin Williamson gets his way, all of the clerics will lose their position.
Well, I would be in favour of that as well. But actually, there are quite a lot of other bishops and others whose names are in the frame. Reverend Stephen Conway, Reverend Dr. Joe Bailey-Wells and Reverend Sue Coleman are all people who are in the firing line from victims and others saying, look, they totally failed to take any action, failed to follow up with police. They knew what was going on and had reasonable grounds for suspicion, did nothing. And is it weird that I'm really shocked by the fact that two of those people are women?
No. It's one of those things where ultimately what you're sort of seeing and what you have seen is something that is very similar to what happened in the Roman Catholic Church, which is, of course, the reputation of the institution is on the line.
Yeah.
And given the scale of what happened with the Roman Catholic Church and the amount that had to be paid out, you can understand why a much smaller church, like the Church of England, would be absolutely terrified.
But the reputation's only on the line because of failure to act and cover up. Look, we know that there are paedophiles in every walk of life. There are police officers, there are judges, there are bin men, there are IT consultants. I mean, it could be anybody, you know what I mean? And so, it's covering it up. It's failing to act when you know that is the crime.
Yeah, that is. And
by the institution.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those things where I don't want this to sound like I'm sort of trying to justify it. It is sometimes just human nature when you discover these things to hope that they'll go away. And I think when you talk to people who are experts on child sex offences in this country, the consensus is the problem is much larger than people possibly realise, precisely because actually far too many people do turn a blind eye to it. And as you pointed out, we're talking about just about every institution, every arm of government, private, it doesn't matter where it is, actually you will find it somewhere.
NHS, BBC, care homes, social, everybody.
It's absolutely huge. And
but
where
it's right that he's gone.
Oh, of course it's right.
And it may be that other heads topple as well. And for me, this is a message that needs to be sent out. Look, this is what is going to happen if you do not act. And we need to make it clear that, it is unacceptable. And, oh, well, I didn't do anything bad. No, you need to do something good to act to stop bad things happening.
Especially if you are a religious figure and actually morality is your whole thing.
Especially if you pontificate, for want of a better word,
it's kind of
how moral you are and you don't do anything to protect children.
Pontificate is rather an unfortunate word in this situation. But yes, if your whole shtick is we are the moral arbiters of this country and we can pass judgment on all sorts of things, you kind of have to be quite squeaky clean. And child sex ventures, abuse, that's rather a large one.
Yeah.
If it was a little bit of fraud,
by that,
if it was a little bit of, took a fiver out of the communion dish, all right, you can turn a blind eye to that times of stuff. But when it's child sex offences, that's a big one.
It is extraordinary, isn't it?